Friends, we're back with some writing. So I do want you to watch this video before you do your writing assignment online because we're going to talk about personal narratives today. I have my writing anchor charts up here for you ready to go, and I've actually already typed in them this time because I will be reading a lot to you. So, we're going to first talk about what a personal narrative is. A personal narrative is a true telling of an event or memory in the writer's life. Personal narrative use the pronouns I, me, or mine. Like fiction stories, personal narratives have a setting and a sequence of events. I am going to read to you a personal narrative that I wrote. And you'll notice that I do use the pronouns I, me, or mine because the story is about me because I wrote it and I wrote my own personal narrative. Okay, so you'll notice also that it has a setting. So my story takes place, it actually takes place at the Red River Gorge, it takes place there, and it has a sequence of events. So that means there are things that are going to happen in order. Okay, let's go ahead and read my story. It's called An Almost Scary Encounter by Mrs. Carlson. One bright sunny day, I was rock climbing at the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. Everything was wonderful. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'll show you where I am right here. The sun was shining, it was summer break, and all of my friends were there. It felt like it was about to be the best day ever. After eating some eggs for breakfast, I started climbing up the wall for my first climb of the day. I climbed up and up, higher and higher. As I was climbing, I was breathing heavy. I was getting tired, but I kept going. Right as I was about to reach the very last handhold on my climb, I touched something fuzzy. I screamed, "Ah!" And all of my friends looked up to see what was the matter. My hand touched something fuzzy. What in the world could it be? I said to my friends down below. I was so scared that I almost wanted to come down. I took a deep breath and I told myself that I will have to keep climbing and be brave. So I kept climbing. Finally, I was up high enough to where I could see what the fuzzy mystery was. Turns out it was just a little caterpillar in my way. It wasn't scary after all. So I took the caterpillar and I moved him aside so that I could keep climbing without smashing him. And that is my personal narrative. So we're going to keep coming back to this personal narrative, and we're going to be using it to learn how to write our own personal narratives. So now that you have heard my personal narrative, you can see that my setting where it takes place is the Red River Gorge in Kentucky, where I like to go rock climbing. A lot of times, personal narratives will have a problem and a solution. I'm going to type that in here. A lot of times, personal narratives will have a problem and a solution. Okay, so think about it. What was the problem in my personal narrative? Remember, this is called An Almost Scary Encounter by Mrs. Carlson. What was the problem in my personal narrative? Think about it for a second. The problem was that there was a caterpillar in my way while I was climbing. Now, if you were writing this, what my problem was, you would say there was a caterpillar in Mrs. Carlson's way while she was climbing. But since it's about me, I'm going to use I. Okay? What was the solution? Think about it. The solution was that I moved the caterpillar out of the way to continue climbing. Okay, so a lot of times personal narratives will have problems and solutions. All right, let's go back to your assignment today on the computer. Okay. It says personal narrative. A personal narrative is a true retelling of an event or a memory in the writer's life, just like we said earlier. Personal narratives use the pronouns I, me, or mine. Like fiction stories, personal narratives have a developed setting and a sequence of events. It says, my turn. Use a personal narrative you have read to fill out the chart. Who is the narrator? What did you learn about the narrator? If you would like to use my personal narrative as an example for what you're writing about, you can totally do that. So you could say the narrator was Mrs. Carlson, and I learned that she's a rock climber and that she is afraid of caterpillars at first. So, and then you can answer this question: where do the events take place? When do the events take place? So you know that the events in my story took place at the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. And if you don't know how to spell that, just try your best. And when do the events take place? If you remember in my story, it was summer break. It was during summer break, okay? What happens? What is the problem? How is the problem solved? Remember, we just talked about the problem and the solution, okay? Remember, the problem was that there was a caterpillar in my way, and the solution was that I just moved the caterpillar out of the way so that I could continue my climb. Okay, so try your best. You are welcome to use it's because it says use a personal narrative you have read to fill in the chart. Now that you have listened to my personal narrative, you may use my personal narrative for this assignment, or you can use another one, maybe even that you wrote, or that's your friend wrote, or something like that. Okay. All right. So you'll just fill in those 3 boxes and then you'll be done with your writing assignment for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.